Hello there, and thank you for stopping by. I wanted to run a comparison today. It was a comparison I had a lot of questions about. I'm sure several of you have questions about this as well. I want to look at the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 Competitor versus the, let me see if I can get this right, the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 Series 5 Metal HD. There's no way you're saying that 3 times fast. The comparison between these two is kind of natural because both of these guns, according to Smith & Wesson, are built catering towards competitive shooters. Wonderful. Let's talk about that for just a minute, and let's look first here at the M&P Competitor. I'm going to show you clear on both guns. Both are clear. Same here. Both guns clear. Okay. Now, the M&P Competitor is not ported. It does have some slide cuts in order to reduce some of that weight. The frame on this gun is aluminum, so it's a light metal, but it is a metal frame. It's aluminum. And this gun would, as it sits, fit into the category in USPSA, as I understand it. Again, I'm not the expert here. I'm new to competitive shooting, so some of these things I'm not going to be your most reliable source on for the facts, but I'm going to explain as I understand it. This would be a limited optics gun. The only thing on this gun as it sits that forces it into limited optics as opposed to carry optics is the magwell. So one could conceivably remove the magwell and then utilize this as their carry optics gun. But those are the two categories that this would fit into. Now, let's look at the HD. This is a metal frame. It's much heavier. You can definitely tell there's a difference. It has a compensator on it, and obviously it's beautiful. It's not a factor other than the appeal. The compensator forces this into open in USPSA and similar competitions. You can't have a compensator and still be competing in the limited optics. The challenge with that is, if you're going to shoot open and you want to excel in that sport, you would be up against, in open, the custom-built race guns that are out there. Open means your gun can, as long as it throws bullets, you can pretty much have whatever you want. There's very little limitation on it. And there's another caveat is that in open, you'd also be competing not only on the guns that are custom built fast and much more expensive, like the Atlas and a lot of those incredible guns that are up there with the compensators, and there's some really good. The Infinity makes some things that you see out on the range when those guys are shooting open. There's some really incredible guns that even are really, they look like a standard handgun. But in open, the next handicap that you have, if this is your open gun, is power factor. So this is a minor because it's 9mm. There are hotter loads that people will shoot that take them to another power factor in competition, which means they can score more points than you can because they're dealing with more recoil, is the thinking, I guess. So if you're using this gun as an open gun, not only are you up against guns that are a little bit more custom built for that kind of competition, you're also going up against a different power factor that's going to score more points than you are and really give you a handicap by using a gun like this. So, built for competition? I don't know, kind of, I guess. I'm probably going to utilize this for right now as my 2-gun handgun because I'm not limited in there. I can basically shoot it as an open gun, and I'm primarily in 2-gun for shooting rifle. So this is a viable option for me, and I'll be fast enough there with this gun that I will keep up with the competition that I'm up against right now. So that's where I'm going to use this. But on a week to week, those open guys, they'd kick my butt. So I'm not sure that that's how I would do that. However, you could remove the compensator screw here that goes into the plate there, a little set screw here that holds it in place, and then there is a thread protector that comes in. You put that thread protector on it, and now you have a shorter version, really, of this gun, right? So if you took right now this is a little bit longer, but if you took this off, the threaded barrel sticks out to about here. So you're almost the same length overall as the competitor, but you would be much heavier, which should feel softer, should handle that recoil a little better. Same kind of cuts here, so it's lightened to a point on the slide that there's probably not a significant difference there. You could also then, if you're going to go that far, I don't know why one couldn't just go ahead and remove this magwell as well and run this in carry optics. So here in this hand, I do have a gun that could conceivably run in carry optics, put the magwell on, run it in limited optics, and then throw the compensator on there and run it in open. So there we go. One thing I want to do is I'm going to compare here the weight of the gun. We're going to look at the trigger pull of the gun because I think it feels different. I'm assuming these have an upgraded trigger in here. There's something different about them, and I haven't read on the site or done enough digging. I'm just, in my hand, it feels different. So we'll start with that, and I'll pause. I'll go get the scale. We'll weigh these two guns, and that'll give us some idea what the differences are between the two. And then we'll explore a little bit further. And then if there's enough interest in this and you guys want to see a head-to-head comparison, I'll take them out to the range and we'll hook them up to the Mantis and we'll see kind of what kind of results we generate in felt recoil and so forth. So, all right, let's start with trigger pull real quick. This is the Competitor. I'm gonna defeat the safety here. There we go. Okay, about middle of the trigger, a little on the low end. That broke right at 5 pounds, maybe just a touch under. Let's try that one more time. Defeat the safety. I'm going to get a little lower if I can on the trigger. 4.5. One more, just for good measure. Defeat the safety. Here we go. Yeah, somewhere between 4.5 and 5 pounds seems to be where that's coming in consistently. Okay, let's have a look at the HD here. Like how I abbreviated that big old long name. Okay, a little low on the trigger here, but let's have a look. That broke at 4 pounds. Honestly, it feels like a bigger difference than that to me. That broke at 4 pounds. Okay, let's get a little. There we go. One last pull. And that broke just under 4 pounds. So right at 4 pounds. So the Competitor seems to be almost a 5 pound trigger. That probably is how they had that like advertised and talked about. And this is running right at a 4 pound trigger. Usually that little difference is tough to pick up, but I'll tell you on this gun, let me see here, ready? Okay, there's the wall. Little tiny creep break. Let's try that again. Yeah, there's just a tiny bit of play. Haven't done anything to either of these guns to do any modifications of any kind whatsoever. Okay, back to the wall. Oh, quite a bit more creep, actually. Let's try that again. I don't know if you guys can see that, if that's really something you can pick up, but this one, like it creeps once. This one, almost, it's like it creeps twice. It's like there's a fake wall in there. See, it goes to that point. So I come to the wall, creeps back to another point where it gets a little harder, and then it breaks. So it's almost a... Now, on the range, I don't think I'd ever feel that. I can feel the difference on the pull for sure. But any of that creep, I'm not going to feel. So this is more of a rolling brake. It's a very short travel. But it does travel just a little bit, not like a Glock or anything. But it's also not as crisp as a 1911 or something. But a good trigger for a striker-fired gun. This is a fantastic trigger. I've heard people say that a necessary or a common M&P upgrade is to go to like an Apex trigger. I have not yet done that. And that's something interesting. Obviously, if I was going to do it, I think I would start here and do that upgrade to the Competitor first, because its trigger really does, like if you're pulling it slow like that, there's a significant difference in quality between these two. So I would notice that. Now this looks like a polymer trigger to me. This one's metal, so that's a difference. Looking at other things about the guns, I think so. It's interesting. There's a really extended mag release here, so it really sticks out there. Easy to get my thumb on. I wouldn't have to reposition my hand at all to push that one. Where this one, it's there. My thumb reaches it. I could probably, but I think I'm having to adjust my grip to get pressure onto it. I can't just, there's no way I could just push. Where on this one, I can push really without adjusting my grip if I want to. I think I would still naturally adjust the grip and go back. But that extended mag release is a major difference in the controls and ergonomics of the gun. The weight difference is really the next thing I want to explore. I'm going to grab that scale. I'll be right back. Zero that thing out. Okay. The Competitor. 29 ounces. 29.05 ounces. And now for the Metal HD. 38.75 ounces. So significant weight difference. I wonder how much of that is the frame. Let's do this. I'm going to pause this for a second. Okay, we're back. Let's take just the frame. 10.6 ounces. 19.7 ounces. Almost twice as much. Let's look at that again. 10.6 and 19.7 ounces. So, and there, like it's a definitely a noticeable difference between the aluminum and the metal frames. Well, let's try this. Because let's look at the slides. 18.45 and the HD is 19. So really close on the slides, but a significant weight difference is all right here. Okay, I am curious. I'm not going to put this all the way together, but if we slide this one on here, it does fit. Take it off camera to finalize that. So there's an interesting approach. Rather than dropping the compensator off of here and putting the thread protector on, one could move their Competitor slide over to the HD. 38.2. Now the advantage of that would be, got the advantage of the trigger pull and the additional weight. I bet there's a significant difference, at least enough to notice the difference in recoil on this versus its original configuration on the Competitor aluminum frame. that means one could, I don't know why, the two slides are completely interchangeable. And that's actually a decent looking gun. So that's something to consider, I suppose. Be a fascinating approach is, if you don't want to shoot it open, put your competitor slide on the HD frame. I'm sure that's a configuration that Smith & Wesson is working on. Like right now, they've got guys like me that are willing to have both of them. But I'll bet this is a version that's in our near future. Well, fascinating. So, differences on the two. Trigger pull, there's definitely a difference. This is a polymer trigger, and it absolutely makes a difference on the pull of that trigger. This is a significantly better trigger. Let's put these back the way they belong, but here is that one and that one. So, question becomes, there's roughly about a $500 difference between the two guns. This is definitely prettier. The weight, I guarantee, is going to have an advantage. The trigger is better, metal trigger, but if you're going to upgrade that anyway, maybe that investment. So if you upgrade the trigger here, I don't know what that Apex or the other versions of the trigger run, the aftermarket triggers, something worth considering. Is there a $500 difference between the two? You know what? Sitting here at the table, I don't know. I can tell you I've shot this one quite a bit. I've got, I don't know, 500 rounds through this or so. And I love the way this gun shoots. I don't have very many rounds through this at all. I think maybe 40 rounds through it. It's newer. And there's definitely a difference in the shootability, but I have not measured that difference yet. Is it $500 different? I don't know. This one's definitely prettier. It's definitely heavier. Definitely has a nicer trigger. And it does shoot softer. It has a little bit more flexibility, I suppose, because you can run it in open, you can run it in carry optics, you can run it in limited optics. Limited optics, carry optics, so there's that. One could have this ported, but then you're stuck with an open gun for sure. I had a realization as I started to edit this video. I thought, you know what? These magazines look really long. Let me check. This is the magazine that comes with the M&P Competitor. This is a 17-round magazine that you could even get some extensions on, the TTI extensions or something, and you would be fine. You can see there's a gap here. So you could put extensions on this and still be within the limits of being in limited optics and carry optics and so forth. You'd be just fine. However, the magazines that come with the HD are really long. And it turns out they are too long to be used in limited optics or in carry optics. So, just so that you know, if you are going to get the HD, if you have a bunch of Smith mags laying around, probably fine if you have M&P mags. But if you're going to buy this gun, and it's your only Smith & Wesson, and these are the only mags you have, these magazines will force you into open in USPSA purely because of the length of the mag. These are 23-round magazines, and they're too long to fit in the legal limit on limited optics or carry optics. So something worth knowing. Interesting side note. Just keep that in mind. If these are going to be only Smith mags, that's going to change your category. So you either have to buy new magazines or use them from another firearm. So there we are. The next thing we're going to have to do is take it out to the range. So if you'd like to see that comparison side by side on the range, measuring those results with the Mantis Elite, let me know in the comments. And I'll run these things side by side. We'll do some measurements. We'll look at accuracy and trigger pull and recoil angle and all that stuff. We'll do a real analysis on these two guns. Find out if the price difference between these two firearms is enough to justify it for your pocketbook. And with that, thank you for stopping by. Appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.